What's up guys, and welcome to Athletic Education, the channel where you take your training to the next level. So in this video, I did a video interview with professional high jumper Jordan Wesner from the University of Memphis, and we spoke about a lot of things. We spoke about training and his journey. I learned so much from him. As you guys can see, he can jump very well. He jumped 7'6", and he can dunk from the free throw line, which is just amazing to me. So I hope you guys learned as much as I did. Enjoy the video. All right, my name is Abubakar Keita, and what is your name?
My name is Jordi Wesner.
Jordi Wesner, nice to meet you, man. And where are you from?
I'm originally from Green Lake, Wisconsin here, a town of about 1,000 people, so super small.
Yeah, that's a very small school. That's a very small school. I mean, space area. But tell me about how you got into track.
Well, it all started my 8th grade year, man. I had this friend named Matt Van Soik. We were on the basketball team together. And one day, he said, we're just playing basketball, and I started just dunking the ball, my 8th grade year. And he's like, man, that's incredible. He was a 400 runner himself, tall, lanky guy. And I think his best was 48 seconds in high school. So, I mean, he was pretty fast. So he's like, man, we got to get you on the track. So, but I mean, it was already summer at that point. So, the basketball season came around again. I got a couple in-game dunks my freshman year, and finally track came around, which I was super excited for that because I wasn't the best ball player, man. I could just jump, that's all I could do. I could just jump. So that came around, man, and he's like, man, I bet you can't clear 6 foot, because that was his PR in the high jump. And I'm like, all right, man, I'll try it. So the first bar, I was in Zig Techs, running shoes on, they're like that thick, and I just missed 6 foot my first time. He gave me a little tutorial and cleared 6 foot my second time, and that's where it all really started, was right there freshman year of high school.
So you cleared 6 feet in running shoes, basically, without any spikes.
Yeah, not even basketball shoes, man. Just these, I think they're called Reebok Zig Techs, man. Yeah, that was it. That's what they're called.
Dude, that is crazy, man. That's just amazing. So tell me how the progression from your freshman year in high school to your senior year.
Well, freshman year, I didn't, like I said, I was cannonballing over the bar. I mean, that's literally what I'd call it. Like if you can picture a cannonball, that's what it looked like over the bar. So I ended up clearing, I think it was 6'3" my freshman year, and which is I think 193 in meters. And then as it progressed, sophomore year was 6'8", junior year was 6'10", and then senior year was 6'11".
Wow, that's crazy. That's a huge jump. That's a huge jump. So tell me about the training in high school, like in the weight room, the plyometric training, and just how you prepared yourself for the seasons.
As far as weight room goes, it's I think that's kind of the interesting part, is I never worked out on weights ever.
Wow.
Even now in my collegiate career, I think there's a time and place for weights, but I think weights are stressed upon too much, especially in America.
Yeah.
Whereas European training, I think they're a little, I don't want to say smarter about it, but I think America has a really big football mentality, like we got to get in the weight room, we got to put weight on your back, we got to see how much you can lift. And I don't think there's a large correlation between, per se, track and the weight room. I think there's, like I said, I think there's a time and place for it, but not all the time, which is what I saw in the United States here versus European training styles. But high school, it was really just plyometric stuff. I'd get out there, I'd start sprinting. Really nothing over 200-300 meters would be about max. And a big part of it was continuing to play other sports and basketball. Developing that coordination and on and off the court. And I think basketball is really where really pushed me in the high jump, because I mean, if you look at the positions in a dunk compared to a high jump, the block is, almost identical in some cases. I think one of the best trainings you can do for high jump is actually basketball itself, just dunking, getting out, doing layups, just moving around the court. So I think that was the biggest part of my high school career, was just literally just on the court on basketball.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on the basketball part, because when you go for a dunk or a layup, you still do the same penultimate step if you're going off one leg to go up for the layup or the dunk. So that's something that's true. You said, you believe the weight room is a little overrated. That's very interesting to me, because as you said, in the United States, that's something that's preached highly. So you said in the European, that's not something they really do that much, and you've had experience with European training?
Yeah, so being at University of Memphis, that's where I spent the last 5 years of my career, is at the University of Memphis here. And I've gotten a ton of different I've had 5 coaches. I've had 5 coaches at the University of Memphis now. And
Wow.
every single one brings a completely different background, completely different training regimen in. And I have to give credit to two coaches in particular, Patrick Piles and Matt Coling. They really introduced a European style of training, I would say. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't want to underrate the weight room, because there definitely is a time and place for the weight room in squats and power cleans and hang cleans and all that good stuff. But I think in the United States and a lot of programs, it's overstressed, the weight room itself.
Okay. So you would say basically the focus should be on plyometrics in training. Is
I,
that?
I, I think it all needs to be incorporated an equal amount per se.
Mhm.
But I don't think I think it should revolve. I don't think it should revolve around the weight room. If that
Okay. That makes sense. I do agree with that part. I think, as an athlete, you should be incorporating every form of training if as it relates to your event or your sport. So I do agree with that. So tell me about the University of Memphis. Tell me how it was from going from high school to college and how the training differed and the competition and all of that.
Man, well, first I like I said, a town of 1,000 people. I never got out of really Wisconsin. Most of my high school career. So, whenever you go to Wisconsin to, visiting, Florida, Minnesota, Memphis, it was well, first it was a culture shock, man. I was like, wow, man,
I
this is
bet it was.
yeah, man, this is incredible. Actually like see, you're so sheltered in a small town. So coming from a small town into a big city was amazing, man. It opened my eyes to a lot of different stuff. It was a lot more fun. So I'm really glad I chose Memphis. And as far as track goes, I mean, it was completely different training. It was so lackadaisical in high school, going from a Division 3, the Division 3 track and field program to a high school track and field program to a Division 1 collegiate program.
Yeah.
They're on you. Like you come a little late to practice. Well, guess what? You're not coming late the next day.
It feels like a job, doesn't it?
It is. It is a job.
Yeah,
I mean, but rightfully so. They're paying you to be there, and
exactly.
you got to take it serious. Because it is your job, and that's one thing I learned. But for training wise, like I said, I lived on the basketball court in high school. That completely changed when I got to college, and I have to say it made a huge difference. Went from 6'11" to almost 7'6", 227.
Wow,
So
man, that's fantastic, dude.
I think what made the big difference for me, well, first off, was the competitive nature. You're constantly being pushed harder by your teammates.
Yeah.
I have a friend, Olushola Lojo, constantly, one of my best mentors in life, like constantly pushed me to be better and better and better. Every sprint, you got someone, you're not the best anymore. You're not the best. I mean, there's someone who's faster than you. There's someone who's stronger than you. And just having that atmosphere where you're getting pushed, iron sharpens iron, and that's one thing that definitely pushed me to the next level is the competition.
Man, that's crazy because you're so right. It's like when you're in high school, you go from being the best, and then
Yeah.
you go to college, you're like, all right, so I'm not the best at every meet I go to. This is different. And your teammates are also some of them are better than you. That means you're training harder. You have to even work harder than before. So that's because I went through the same thing. I went from high school, like I said, I switched from jumping actually from distance running to jumping in 11th grade. So I jumped for about a year because even my junior year, I wasn't even fully committed. I was a volleyball player. That's what I was really focusing on.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Huh?
Really? Sand volleyball or court volleyball?
Oh, court volleyball for the school.
It's still good though, man. That's a good workout. It's hard.
Oh no, man! I loved it, man. It was fantastic. Like that's why like most of the games and the meets were on the same day. I would choose the games over the meets, but I was a lot better at track at jumping than I was in volleyball. So the coach at the end of the year was like, "Look, man, you can be really good at jumping. Well, how about next year you focus on it?" I was like, "You know what? I suck at volleyball. Why not?" So that's how my jumping career started. But what is your biggest advice to young athletes? Because there's going to be a lot of young athletes watching these that want to get into track and that want to also go into the college atmosphere. Yeah.
Well, it's college it's competitive, man. It really is, and you have to have The biggest thing is having the mindset. If you're not, if you can have all the athletic ability you want, but the true competitive nature is up here. Whenever you have to go to classes. I mean, that's the biggest thing, man. You have to go to class. You have to get your schoolwork done. You have to do all that. Otherwise, guess what? You're not going to be on the track. You're not going to be on the court. You're not going to be on the field. You're not going to be competing. If you don't do what's right in the classroom, then you're not going to be playing in the first place. I mean, I can relate to that because freshman. I almost didn't get into university. I had such a terrible GPA out of high school because I didn't take it serious, and I was within 3.3 points of getting a scholarship. You had to have a 2.3, and I barely made it over that GPA mark. So I think that's the most important thing. Getting the academics. Just make sure you show up on time for everything, and really do what's best for you, though. You got to do what makes you happy. Don't do what if you really don't want to go D1, then don't go D1, because there is a marked difference between the schools. D1 versus D2 versus D3. D1's a job. You better show up to practice on time every single day. It's not a joke.
No, that's so true. That's so true, man.
I'd say those are the two biggest tips. That you got to keep in mind before you're choosing a school and athletics in general.
That's true. I'm really glad you mentioned the academic part, because a lot of athletes tend to just focus on this part instead of like student athlete. They focus on the athlete part and forget about the student part. And as you know, track and field or any sport takes a lot of time in college. You go to the meets all for the whole weekend. You're there the whole day. You don't have a lot of time to do your schoolwork. So you really have to buckle down and make sure you do your schoolwork when you do have the time, when you do have that free time, when you're not at practice or when you're not sleeping, because you have just a small window from classes, practice, and then sleep. So, that's the time you have to use to make sure you get your academics in. So I do want to ask you, for you personally, what do you think your biggest accomplishment is in track and field?
In track and field specifically, my biggest accomplishment, I would say, I know it's going to sound kind of crazy, but the development of my leadership skills that I have gotten from being in such a unique atmosphere. I wouldn't even say it's my jumps. The thing that sports has taught me the most is how to interact with people. Coming from such a small town, I was a shy kid. Sports taught. I can get up and talk to anyone now, and that's the biggest thing that I've learned from track and field. Of course, those high marks, those PRs every single time, man, you feel like you're on top of the world.
Oh, man, that's for sure.
Single time, man, you feel like you're on top of the world for a month, and then that high starts coming back down. But the leadership that you have acquired over those years, that's always going to stay with you. You're going to use those tools every single day of your life.
That is so true, because sports build character, leadership. A lot of times, the longer you do the sport, the longer you're on the team, that's when you have to take a more leadership role for the incoming athletes. You got to really put your voice out there. And, if you're a little shy, to get in front and talk to people, you got to force it out of yourself, because guess what? You got all these younger athletes looking at you, and they see what you have accomplished, and they want to be like you, basically. So you have to go talk to them and really walk through them, let them know how it's done and how it should be done.
Perfect.
So I'm glad you said that too, man. So let's get into your training now, man. So how does a regular week look for you? How does your weekly training look when you're in season?
In season. So there's a marked, I think that's a big misconception of track, is people don't understand that you're constantly building up, depending on the coach, it's a 4-year period. You're building up until the Olympic year.
Yeah.
So in season, it's actually a lot. Surprisingly, it's not a lot. Your loads. We get in the weight room maybe once a week. We put a load on the back, and basically all the work is done in the preseason.
The off season, right?
In the fall season.
Yeah.
Once you're in the season, there's not a lot you're going to be able to do to get that much better. Because you're working with such a small time frame, and all I work at in the in season is just staying healthy, man.
Exactly, because during the in season, usually you start practicing on like Thursday, because you have the meets on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So like for me, I always say, the biggest thing is the off season. There's really no such thing as an off season for an athlete. For me, that's the time, you get better. That's the time you outwork your opponents, your competition, so that when you do come in the season, you're stronger than before, you're faster than before, you're more explosive than before, and you're ready to just go to the next level during the competition.
100%. That's perfectly said. Perfectly said. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2020, 2021, man. So how's that looking for you, the Olympics?
Man, I mean, it's something I'm gonna have to work hard for, but I know it can be done. With this whole coronavirus thing, man, it's really ridiculous, man. It's crazy, but I'm just gonna come out and try my best. As always. I know we have they're granting most spring athletes another year of eligibility. So I'm going to take full advantage of that and hopefully go back to University of Memphis or, possibly somewhere else if something else comes up. But University of Memphis as of now, just train as hard as I can and give it my best shot, man.
Yeah, good. Hey, man, good luck with that. That's for sure. So now that you're, training, I assume you're training by yourself.
Yeah.
How is that working now? You go from having a very structured training in college, and then you have a coach constantly on your back, constantly telling you what to do, giving you the steps of how to perform and just get better. But then you move on to yourself. How is that working?
It's the most difficult thing I've ever done. I have to say that. And I think that's a large problem with track and field in general. Our sport here is there's no funding after there's little to no funding after you graduate from college. So once you're out of college, exactly, now you have to start finding coaches to train with, and those coaches want money, and it's very, very, very difficult. And I don't think a lot of kids coming out of high school, I definitely didn't even realize that. I was like, oh, there's a chance you can make a lot of money in track. Well, if you're hitting standards, you can make money if you're hitting those standards. But I mean, you're very rare few people in the entire world can do that. Hit a
Yeah.
standard. It's difficult, man. But now it's difficult. But I mean, I'm pretty self motivated. So I mean, I'm definitely getting the work in. It just, like I said, it goes back to our topic before. Iron sharpens iron. Well, whenever someone's not there pushing you all the time, it's difficult to put that last rep in. It's like I said, it goes back to all that mindset. You just really got to want it.
Exactly. Do you have any training partners?
I actually don't. My dad works out with me.
That's a good training partner, man.
No, exactly, man. He's always pushing me to be the best I can. So, but like I said, town of 1,000 people, man. There's not a lot of people actually get into working out in general. So it is very difficult.
That's true. That's true. So, man, I do want to, ask you, man, about those dunks you be throwing down, man. Those
Yeah,
things are crazy, bro. Dude, you be
not for sure.
so you started dunking in eighth grade, you said, which is just, I mean, how tall are you?
I'm about 6'4", 6'3".
6'4". Okay, you got some height on you, but either way, man, dunking from the free throw line,
Yeah,
that
no,
is
man.
just amazing, man. When were you able to first do that? Like, this is just personally at this point. I'm just curious now.
Well, let's see. I started. I obviously my biggest idol. I mean, I have it on my phone, man. Is Michael Jordan.
So you're watching that documentary series, aren't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, man. Have you
I
watched
think
that?
it's crazy.
Yeah, man. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But man, ever since I saw him dunk from the free throw line, I think I was in like third. I was like in third grade. I'm like, oh man, that's amazing. Like the man is flying. He's incredible. So I think I started working on touching the free throw line, touching the rim from the free throw line. I think I was able to do that after my sophomore year.
Wow.
I wasn't able to actually dunk a ball though until from the free throw line until I'm gonna say it was my sophomore year of college. Yeah, I had to build up. That's whenever I started really working on getting the speed involved into the
Mhm.
jump, which is tough, man. That's whenever I remember freshman year, man, of high school, I would try running almost as fast as I could, and I would try to jump from the free throw on it, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not how it works.
No, not. And I think that's a good point here because I mean I can clear 7.3 in the high jump any given day, 7.2, 7.3, and they put me in the long jump, and man, I went 6.25 or something.
Oh man,
It,
you just don't have the form down, man.
I don't know if it's that, but I think even if I perfected the form and everything, I think I might be a 7-meter jumper. But it's like there's this, you got to have that speed with it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Cause I was a long jumper. The first time I ever long jumped, I jumped what is it, 19.7 1/4. The first time,
That's impressive. That's
huh?
impressive. It's your first time?
Yeah, the first time I ever long jumped, 19.7 1/4, and then that was then I went to college and then messed my knee up. But the outdoor season, I jumped 23.4 4.25 no 4.5. And then I was hoping to hit 25 within my junior year, but my sophomore year hurt my hamstring, couldn't really come back anymore. So it happens, man. But I do really want to thank you for taking the time to grant me this interview. I really appreciate it, man.
No, thank you so much for offering it to me. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, man.